So we've got a couple of new mech warriors here to the channel, making my way through some comments, and we're exploring, or I should say asking the question, engine hits versus gyro hits. When they start to happen, which one's kind of worse in terms of the game? Or which one do you feel kind of limits and lessens your tactics? Now, there's a couple of really important modifiers here, or considerations here, that are really dependent on the type of mech that you play. And I'm going to simplify things a little bit, but essentially an engine hits are going to throw on heat that's going to affect your rate of fire with weapons. And the gyro hits are going to affect some physical activities, although those you can choose not to do to complicate them. But it's going to affect your ability to run and pilot checks. So essentially it's going to affect your mobility. Now, the duality here, of course, is if you are a heavy mech, or you're an assault mech, the gyro hits are not as extreme because essentially you can just plant there and fire away. It's the engine hits that mess you up. My awesome mech in a game a couple of gaming sessions ago, I was taking mad hits. I mean, the awesome lasts a lot on there. It's a zombie mech. I literally had both my arms blown off. I'm taking so much damage to the front. For one turn, I literally turned to my back so they could work on my back a little bit, give me a little back massage with the lasers. Then I turned back to the front on there. I had an engine hit and I had a sensor hit. And a sensor hit's pretty rare. It's one of those things like, you know what it does, but you got to look up the modifiers on here. So with that, it made hitting with the PPCs very hard. But that's an extreme example. Engine hits, even one engine hit throwing up that heat, essentially cut the effectiveness of my mech severely. Gyro hit, I would have rather had a gyro hit with that. Flip that around to the other side. I was playing a spider mech, and it's rare that you take engine or gyro hits, I find, with light mechs because they have such little armor. If you are taking mad firepower, usually you just disintegrate and explode. But I took a gyro hit while I was scouting. You know, on the way in, I took some hits, scouted, did what I have to do, and then I was almost out off the table when I took that crit hit on there. And that really slowed things down. That really did, but I was far enough away on the map that I could still continue onward. But if I was, if that had happened 2 or 3 turns sooner and I was kind of in the base that I was reconning, I would have failed the mission because I would not have been able to move fast enough to escape. So on the extremes, one or the other, if I took engine hits on the spider, okay, a lot of light mechs, a couple of medium mechs, you can still continue to shoot, and it doesn't even matter that you're throwing up additional heat. And if I don't shoot and I'm running, you know, I'll be okay on there, even throwing up the heat, or I'll throw a +1 or +2. You know, if I'm running +1, +2 heat, depending on the hits, I can stack that heat for a little while, get out of the way, rest, bring it down. We'd like no criticals, of course. Both are very, very severe. And if you're playing in a campaign, those are like the 2 most expensive pieces of tech to salvage or to recover on there. But if I had to break it up, it really depends. Are we talking about light mechs versus heavy and assault mechs? That's going to determine what's going to have more of a crippling effect. And medium mechs, as always, they're in the middle. You know, do you have a medium mech that is more fast-oriented, speed-oriented? Or do you have some of the higher tonnage medium mechs that it's a blurry, fine line? They really kind of throw out firepower and play like heavier mechs on there. In that case, then obviously engine hits would be much, much worse.